Hello, friends. Finally, I'm in Antalya. I think this city needs no introduction after all. It is one of the most popular and beautiful resort cities in Turkey. In this video, I will show you the most interesting places in Antalya and tell you about the history of the city. I will share my observations with you and give you a couple of recommendations in case you decided to go here for a vacation for the first time. And we will just walk around and see this wonderful city. Those who have already been to Antalya will feel nostalgic, and those who are considering Antalya for their first trip here will know interesting and, I hope, useful information. Don't forget to subscribe and press a like button, and we will go to the most interesting place in Antalya, its heart and historical center, the old town of Kaleici. According to legend, King Attalus of Pergamum asked his servants to find the most beautiful place on earth. After a long search, they found such a paradise, where in the 2nd century BC the king founded the city, naming it after himself, Antalya. The history of these places is extremely rich. Since then, these shores have been ruled by the Romans, Byzantines, Arabs, Seljuks, and then the Ottomans, and each conquest left an imprint of its culture. The old town of Kaleici is a place that has absorbed and preserved the charm and atmosphere of past eras. For this reason, visiting the old town is a must-have if you are in Antalya. The name Kaleici literally translates as inside the fortress, which reflects the historical significance of this place. Here, narrow streets paved with stone surround ancient buildings that have incorporated elements of architecture from various periods. I really like the architecture of old cities and the atmosphere, and it is always very interesting for me to walk along the ancient streets with a centuries-old history. These houses with wooden balconies and covered terraces, the ancient walls of the fortress and the mosque create a unique atmosphere. I entered the old town through Hadrian's Gate. This is one of the most famous and oldest buildings in Kaleici. Gate was built in honor of the Roman Emperor Hadrian in 130 AD. The beauty of Hadrian's Gate is amazing. The arched vaults decorated with floral reliefs have been well preserved to this day, and it's completely built of white marble. Hadrian's Gate was reconstructed in 1959, the sidewalk was removed, and the original Roman-era road appeared under it. You can see deep furrows from the numerous carts passing through the city gates. Nowadays, Kaleici is a place of attraction for tourists. Boutique hotels, restaurants, and cafes are located in the old houses, and of course classics of tourist places, shops with Turkish carpets, souvenirs, and all sorts of stuff. Sometimes I really like to go into such shops just to look at bright and colored trinkets. For me, Turkey is a country full of colors, as well as aromas of flowers and spices. And such shops, in my opinion, have just absorbed this whole kaleidoscope, which is a pleasure to look at. The houses in Kaleici are located very close to each other, which is generally understandable. The territory of the fortress is quite limited, and it was necessary to place as much as possible inside of the fortress. If you get off the main streets, you can get to such narrow streets. Some of them are very narrow. It is noteworthy that in Turkey houses are still being built close to each other, and I have always thought about the reasons. Is it really all about the cost of land? Or are there any other reasons for this? If you know the answer to this question, write in the comments. It will be interesting for me to read. In addition to the old houses, there are several mosques on the territory of Kaleici, and we will take a look at one of them, the Shehzade Korkut Mosque. In my opinion, this is one of the most unique mosques. Initial building was built in the 2nd century. Originally, it was a Roman temple, which later, in the 7th century, was rebuilt into the Byzantine Church of the Virgin Mary. Elements of the former temple were used in the construction. The church was severely damaged during the Arab invasions and was rebuilt in the 9th century. In the 13th century, after the invasion of the Seljuks, the church was converted into a mosque and a minaret was added. After the conquest of the coast by King Peter I of Cyprus in 1361, the mosque was again converted into a church. During the reign of Shehzade Korkut, the son of the Ottoman Sultan Bayezid II, the church again became a mosque, and a modern minaret was built. In 1896, the mosque and the minaret were severely damaged by fire. Since then, The minaret of the mosque has become known as the Minaret Kesik, which is in Turkish means broken minaret. The ruins of the mosque remained not restored until work on the restoration of the mosque with the concept of turning the shrine into a mosque museum began in 2018. The mosque officially opened its doors on March 5, 2021, the anniversary when Antalya was conquered by the Seljuks. Today, the historically rich building functions both as a mosque and as a museum, which, in my opinion, makes it so unique. Inside the mosque, the carpet alternates with glass inserts in the floor, through which history can be seen. By the way, the entrance is free. Do not forget only about the rules of visiting the mosque and the appropriate clothes. We return with you back to the streets of Kaleici and go to the Hadrian Tower, another Roman building, also built in the 2nd century. The tower was built for the defense of the city and may have played the role of a lighthouse. I'll show you the tower from a drone and at the same time give you a little break, and then we'll continue exploring the history of Antalya.
Sun rays on my skin, where will I be hiding when the storm comes in? Who is my disguise? I have lost my memories. Will they come back? Hanging by a thread, and I am giving in. Everything is cold, and now my fingertips turn blue. Tell me you can hear me when my lips talk to you. Tell me you can hear me when my lips talk to you. When my lips talk to you. When my lips talk to you.
Another must-visit place in Antalya is Duden Waterfalls, one of the famous places of Antalya, which I really wanted to see with my own eyes. I decided to go to the waterfall by boat from the Old Port in Kaleici, like a real sea pirate. But instead of a bottle of rum, there was a bottle of Hadrian. Pirates, by the way, ruled on these waters and shores until the Romans took the city. The port of Kaleici offers several types of excursions. There is a short 1-hour tour. There is an all-day tour. There is also an excursion to the Duden Waterfalls, which lasts 2.5 hours, so I bought it. Duden Waterfall is divided into 2 parts, Upper and Lower Duden. Each of these parts has its own unique charm and beauty. But if you want to look at the one that falls into the sea and get to it like a landlubber, you need to search for the Lower Duden Waterfalls on the maps, otherwise the navigator will show you anything but the waterfall that you need. The landmark for you will be Duden Park. Throughout the tour, you will observe such beautiful rocks. The steep shores of Antalya are the result of complex geological and tectonic processes that have shaped this region for millions of years. The cliffs give the coast of Antalya a special picturesqueness. Majestic cliffs that fall into the turquoise waters of the Mediterranean Sea create spectacular views. Well, after an hour of our journey, the waterfall finally appeared, and honestly, there was no time for filming. Emotions were overwhelming. Unfortunately, we didn't stand at the waterfall for very long time. It felt like literally 15 minutes maximum. I only managed to enjoy it a little bit and take a couple of shots of the waterfall itself, and then we are already sailing back. I would say that it's a disadvantage of such an excursion. I am greedy for impressions like a scorpion, and it wasn't enough time at the waterfall to me to enjoy it to the fullest. Well, I crossed this place in my must-visit list, and now I'm sailing back, breathing in the salty wind. Since we have docked back at the Old Port, I will say a few words about it. These are the kiosks where tickets for excursions are sold. Then they gather participants by the time of departure and you sail on one of the boats. The Old Port of Antalya is another historical heritage of the city. For centuries, it has served as an important commercial and naval center linking various parts of the Mediterranean, and has been one of the key maritime hubs. The high fortress walls of the port impress with their massiveness. The port was active until the 20th century, but nowadays it mostly carries a touristic function. Among other things, there is such a tiny beach in the port. In general, the port is definitely worth a visit. Taking the elevator from the port, we find ourselves on the main square. Here I met the retro tram nostalgia again. The line of this tram runs along the entire old town, and payment in it is like in ordinary urban transport. Unfortunately, I did not have time to ride it. He eluded me all the time. I met him absolutely by accident. I stayed in the center of Antalya wanting to explore the old city while not wasting much time on the road. I lived in a hotel that was literally 2 minutes from the main square of the city, and it was really easy to reach of all the main historical sites and attractions. From above, the square offers beautiful views of the old city itself. Here, the Yivli minaret rises among the tiled roofs of houses. A little further from the square, there are such massive remains of the fortress wall, and behind them, there is an ancient clock tower, another symbol of Antalya, and next to it the Tekeli Mehmet Pasha Mosque. Historical sites, in my opinion, are the only reason to stay in the center of Antalya. But if your goal is to relax in silence and spend more time by the sea, then a hotel in the city center, in my opinion, is not the best choice, and that's why. Firstly, there are a lot of people in the center. There are a lot of tourists on the streets. It is very noisy and expensive, which is generally expected from the city center. Prices in restaurants and cafes in the old town of Kaleici and the surrounding area are 2 and sometimes 3 times higher than in any other part of the city. Secondly, it is worth taking into account the peculiarity of the Antalya coast. As you have already seen, a part of the Antalya coast with massive cliffs stretches for kilometers. If you stay in the center, you will need to spend valuable vacation time on the way to the beach. Of course, you can go to the tiny beach in the port, but in my own opinion, it's not the best option. Therefore, if visiting historical sites is not a priority for you, I would consider hotels closer to Konyaalti and Lara beaches. And for the city center, you can just set aside a day. Immerse yourself in history, gain impressions, and continue your vacation closer to the beach. This, of course, is not a strict recommendation, it's just my personal opinion, and I would like to highlight such moments for you. Well, we are leaving the center of Antalya, and finally we will look at one of my favorite places in the city, the Konyaalti Beach. The views and panoramas that open from this observation deck simply fascinate me every time I come here. On my first trip in April of this year, the weather was cloudy, and I did not see these beautiful Antalya mountains on the horizon. But on my second trip to Antalya in June, the weather was sunny, and I was just stunned by this beauty when I returned here. Well, you can see everything for yourself, friends. Probably one of the most beautiful panoramas I have ever seen in my life. As for me, it's worth coming to Antalya just for the sake of such a picture. I could probably stand endlessly on this observation deck and enjoy these views, but the Antalya sun is already roasting hard even in early June. That day it was about 40 degrees Celsius. So I decided to go down to the beach to cool off a little by the water and in the shade of the park. Konyaalti Beach is one of the most famous and popular beaches in Antalya, attracts tourists with its beauty, infrastructure, and a variety of opportunities for the rest and entertainment. Located on the western side of the city, it stretches for several kilometers along the Mediterranean coast, is surrounded by majestic mountains. Konyaalti Beach is distinguished by its unique landscape. Unlike other beaches in Antalya, pebbles and gravel prevail here, and the clean and transparent seawater creates ideal conditions for swimming and all kinds of water sports. The beach is surrounded by a green park with good infrastructure. Here you can walk or ride on a bike or on roller skates. There are numerous cafes, restaurants, and beach clubs along the beach. For the comfort of vacationers, sunbeds, umbrellas, showers, and changing rooms are provided here. In short, the infrastructure of the beach is at a very decent level. Well, the beach itself is so big that there is definitely enough space for everyone. There are areas with sunbeds, but as I noticed, most vacationers come with their own blankets and umbrellas. The water at the beach is clean despite the number of swimmers. And this is one of the advantages of a pebble beach. The mud from the bottom does not rise so much when a lot of people are splashing in the water. And the sea is simply amazing. You look at this endless blue and you just catch some kind of meditative state. All thoughts and worries just leave your head by themselves. There is only you and the beauty around you. In general, Konyaalti Beach is a cool place. I really liked it. By the way, it's time to put a like for this video too, if you haven't done it yet. Well, we leave the beach and head to another super popular place in Antalya. Antalya Aquarium, one of the largest aquariums in the world, and it is located within walking distance from the beach. Antalya Aquarium turned out to be one of the most exciting attractions in Antalya for me. They provide a unique opportunity to dive into the underwater world and get to know its inhabitants. In my opinion, visiting the aquarium will be interesting for both adults and children. The aquarium is divided into zones. At the entrance, there is an area where you can see a variety of bright and colorful fish that live among coral reefs. The types and colors of fish are very different. In addition, in aquariums, there are also interesting backlighting installations on the background. Looking at all this beauty is just crazy. After walking a little further, I came across an aquarium with stingrays. One of them even learned to beg for food from visitors and almost jumped out of the water. I didn't dare to feed and pet him, but just stood there and was blown away by what was happening. An amazing creature. It behaved just like a dog or a cat. And a little further on, there are already aquariums with predatory fish, larger and scarier. Here I met a guitarfish. Here it swims along the bottom of the aquarium. And in the same aquarium, such fast sharks of small size are adjacent to it. I saw moray eels in a nearby aquarium. In my opinion, they are just disgusting. I really don't like this whole snake-like creatures. Even now I'm editing the video for you, but everything inside me is twitching. Just disgusting. Well, at the very end, there is the most interesting thing. A huge aquarium with sharks. I was standing there, looking at the plane. I turn my gaze and then, as in the horror movies, I see the ominous shadow of a shark in the depths. It looks really scary. Well, the main feature of the Antalya Aquarium is the longest underwater tunnel in the world, 131 meters long and 3 meters wide. Walking through this tunnel, you can observe the life of sea creatures from all sides. This creates a feeling of complete immersion in the underwater world, allowing you to see various species of sharks and other exotic fish. Walking through the tunnel, I met a shark again and saw it much close. My God, how terrible it is. It's good that there's glass between us. The ticket price is now about $35 for an adult, and if I remember correct, $26 was for a child. Ticket prices are a bit high, of course, but believe me, these impressions are worth it. Where else will you see this? I definitely recommend looking here. There are a lot of stereotypes around Antalya, like it's only for people who come here mostly for all-inclusive type of vacation, just to relax on the beach. But you saw with your own that Antalya is actually an interesting city, which definitely has places to go and attractions to see. And in my personal opinion, all the stereotypes about holidays in Antalya are nothing more than stereotypes. Of course, I need to mention the atmosphere of the city. When I come to Antalya, I feel very easy here, and in general very relaxed. I think that those who choose Antalya for the vacation will understand what I am talking about. Well, if you haven't been to Antalya yet, then it's definitely worth visiting at least once. If you have been vacationing in this city, share your impressions in the comments. It will be interesting for me to read your memories and opinions about this city. I also suggest you subscribe and watch other videos on the channel. The links will now appear on the screen. Well, if you liked this video, do not forget about pressing the like button and subscribing the channel, and see you soon on new travels.